Welcome. Good morning to one and all. It's To The Point for today, Thursday, the 10th day of July 2025. And let me say welcome to those of you who are viewing and listening to the program this morning. Thanks for, of course, joining us this morning. We have the CID with us this morning, the Criminal Investigation Department, as you would say, and we're abbreviated by just be saying CID. And our topic on conversation will be, of course, property crimes. That will be our conversation this morning. Let me say good morning to my guests. You know, I'm having conversation with the opposite studio, and I ain't getting your name. Oh, you give me your name many times, and I always seem to forget.
That's about the full time I'll be giving Brother GT my name.
I know. I'm bad with names. Don't let me forget my children's names.
I'm Corporal Antoine.
Corporal Antoine.
Detective number 24. Affectionately known as 24.
24.
Yes.
All right.
Attached to the Criminal Investigation Department at St. Paul's Police Station. Let me say good morning to the listening public, viewing public, home and abroad. And let's get ready to get some information.
Yeah, so we hope an interesting program this morning. You know, we talking property crimes this morning, and you know, it's something that folks need to pay a lot of attention to, our listeners and viewers. We into that season. Also, it's not going to happen in a particular season alone. You know, I don't think the culprit survey would choose a particular season to prey on anyone as it goes these days. You know, there's no particular season. Sometimes it gets a little bit rampant for more reasons, for whatever reasons at a time. So we're talking property crime. I want to start the conversation this morning for the benefit for our listeners and viewers this morning. Let's get into the definition and classification of property crime. When we say property crime, folks may just feel, is it just the way we say somebody come into your property and commits a crime? Or is it more or less than that?
Well, it's more than that.
Yeah.
Right. The definition is basically, it's defined as a crime which a victim property is stolen, destroyed without the use of force or against the victim. It includes burglary, larceny, theft of motor vehicle, vandalism, and arson.
All right. So your property, it varies in some of the definitions that you give.
Yes.
Your home is one.
Yes, your home.
Your home. That's your property.
Right. Anything that belongs to you. Anything that belongs to your vehicle.
Your cell phone.
Anything.
Is your property.
Right.
Yeah, that's what we define as property crimes. There are common types of crime. What are those types of crimes that we see are most rampant, per se?
Well, the most common type of property crime is really larceny or stealing. Yeah. Right? That is the most popular one. Then whether it's stealing of motor vehicle, stealing of personal items, cell phone, computers. Some people even break into people's houses and steal things like television and other large object that sometimes that they would ship. Because we have a trade with St. Vincent. Obviously, it should be known by now where persons steal stuff here and send to St. Vincent in exchange for illicit drugs.
So that's interesting to note. Of course, I never thought of it in that particular way, because sometimes you hear that individual may lose their personal items, and for some reason it's just not found anymore.
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons, because
just not hearing about it anymore. It's just gone. It's like it just disappeared for some reason. So you're saying there's a particular trade that exists in that?
Yes.
Where someone steals someone items and it's shipped out there.
Yeah. That is common. That is common to our construct here in Grenada. Sometimes boat engines and you see tarpaulins and stuff. Sometimes based on the items that is being stolen. And the area in which it's being stolen, then we obviously know as investigators what are the possibilities.
Okay.
Right? Because sometimes we have intercepted those persons trying to make away with stuff to St. Vincent already. So it's something that we know.
And so you come into contact with these individuals, maybe via the sea and so forth,
yes.
And then you realize the items that they have in their possession
Yes.
It's items that was probably reported stolen, and so forth.
Yes.
Interesting to note. Interesting to note. Let's talk about the trends. There's always that local trend when it comes to property crime. There's always a local trend. What are some of those local trends that we get classified this morning?
The local trend, really and truly, is that during the peak season in our country, property crimes, the amount reported tends to go up a bit.
Yeah.
Right? I wouldn't say drastically, but there is increase in property crime. You're speaking about Christmas time, around the Easter, and now that we are approaching the carnival season, we expect to see a rise in property crime.
So you say that citizens should be raising their alert level around these particular peak times.
And what we have seen, some of the reasons for property crime increases around that time is during those periods we tend to have a lot of visitors.
Yeah.
And somehow the visitors and them, they tend to be laid back with the property, how they carry cash, the way how they carry themselves in general. Right?
I'm getting the feeling when I'm back home.
Right.
Some maybe not.
Sea and sun, that is the safest place, so we just put the guard down.
You understand, but somehow they drop their guard for various reasons. You understand?
That is part of I would think part of the reason that is increased. Two, obviously, is time when like Christmas time, you'd want to have a little extra cash. Some people do not intend to work, and the intention is to commit crime to get items.
Yeah.
So they would rob you of your items, even if it's to sell or to exchange for other stuff. So the season brings out that in them. They want to have cash to attend the various shows, Christmas time to buy stuff, maybe to give to their kids, maybe to give to family members, maybe just to have stuff.
So the trend is to commit the crime to do that.
Commit a crime.
Let's talk about what the RGPF, of course, is doing or can do to help alleviate that or get that downward trend in of course getting the culprits who wants to do that individual to cease and desist from doing that. What are some of the things that the RGPF is doing?
Well, some of the things that we are doing is having program like this, sensitizing the public on the do's and don'ts during those times, so that persons will be more mindful.
All right.
Also, our community policing. We have outreach, we have walkthroughs. On those walkthroughs, we engage with the public, in the various communities. We give out tips, and really, it's different forms of sensitizing. Yeah. Also, during those times, we have our. We tend to heighten our operations level. You will see officers doing operation, whether it's traffic check, whether it's block search. You might see CID and other departments out in the morning doing their thing. It gears at letting the public know that while we're sensitizing, we're letting the criminals, a person who have criminal intent, know that we're not taking a back seat.
Okay.
We're at the forefront and we're going at it hard. Okay. And this carnival is no difference.
I want us to focus a wee bit on the community outreach that's been done. I know it's more part with the community relations department and so forth, but it's policing in general.
Yes, it is.
It's policing in general. How has been the feedback been for, if you do have information to share us relation to that, where they go to these communities and speak to the citizens in those communities and the feedback they've been receiving, has it been positive? Has it been making a big impact? Has it making a difference in terms of the relationship with the citizens and the police, in terms of reporting incidents and so forth and sharing of information?
I would say the feedback has been really, really amazing to me.
Yeah.
Amazing might be the right word to use, but that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Because when you walk through these various communities, and you hear concern, and then you get to build relationship and have confidence, and people have confidence in police because they're getting to know the various officers that work in their station that serve them, right? And to provide assistance. Sometimes, based on conversation, the assistance that we, the police, need to give to somebody is not really from a police point of view.
It's like a one-on-one conversation.
Sometimes we could just direct them to a different government department, organization. But if you're not in the communities and you're not hearing, then you're not able to really assist them. Mm-hmm. So being in the communities, really and truly, and then, as I said, it develops that kind of confidence with the public and the police, and it's really.
I'm just happy to hear that, because sometimes we don't hear that information shared much by the police in terms of how these community engagements, the feedback and how it has changed the whole concept of citizens and the police relationship. You understand?
It has, and at times it has reduced crime to the sense that I was walking a couple of days ago, and a young guy from Labarry, that during our interaction in the communities, he took my number and stuff, and a couple of days ago he called me and he told me, "Officer, this man ting," and the only reason why I don't want to do this man something because you spoke to me, and you know what, come and talk to that man. Whereas in the past, there would be a physical altercation and some sort of a crime, some causing harm, some wounding, even death could happen. And so the community outreach, it helps to reduce crime as well.
All right. Yeah. I'm certainly happy to hear that, because sometimes you would like to know that these are reaching individuals out there who are making a difference in their life. Compared to someone who maybe for some reason, as you mentioned, people commit crimes for various reasons.
Yes, that's true.
For financial reasons or whatever they want something, and they feel the only way I can obtain it is by stealing somebody's stuff or hampering somebody's property or something in order to obtain. And sometimes those simple conversations with the police coming in your community can make a difference. And you could accept leading that individuals who may be having those thoughts say, maybe if you do this, I'll go to that particular department or something of the sort within some governmental department, a job may be available for you.
Exactly.
That could change their mindset in terms of how it leads. So I'm certainly happy to hear that. We due for a first break. When we come back, we still have much more to talk about. We're talking this morning with the CID community. Of course, we're talking property crime. My apology. We're talking property crimes this morning. When we come back, we have much more. Stay with us. Classic Radio GBN TV. We will be right back.
Attention.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling global Africa. The 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum, Active 2025, is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
Somebody go out to face it. We taking them back to basic. Carnage, this year go hard to face it. I'm here, the 25th, look out for Soti the General. I tell you, somebody go out to face it. We taking them back to basic. We cause of that catastrophic. Carnage, you go hard to face it.
Not there. Somebody go out to find your bad. I know they are not. I know they are not. Somebody go out to face it. I tell you, somebody go out to face it. 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 Somebody go and shake it. One events and break it. Somebody go out to
stumps ready? The biggest party in sports is back. It's Republic Bank CPL 2025. Bowls off August 14th to September 21st. 34 matches, 6 teams, 6 nations. Your Caribbean cricket frenzy. From big sixes to deadly yorkers. Catch every boundary, every wicket, every moment. Live on GBN TV and Classic Radio. This is not just cricket. This is CPL. Sponsored by Republic Bank, Glen, and Hubbard. Republic Bank CPL 2025. Don't miss a ball.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, folks. It's To The Point, Classic Radio GBN TV. We're talking property crimes this morning here on today's program. And we have the CID with us this morning. And, of course, let's continue our conversation this morning. You know, in continue our conversation, there's always that high-risk areas and patterns that you see in relation to property crime, right? And when we say high-risk area, there are areas where folks will are individuals who want to prey on an individual will just visit these particular areas for various reasons. Let's say, a couple on China may have a big house, he has his car, you have this, and they notice these particular areas where folks maybe have a particular pattern in terms of where they live and how they do things. That tendency to give individual the incentives of wanting to go after these people's properties for various reasons. Talk to me in relation to that.
Well, I would say high-risk areas is areas where opportunity presents itself.
Yes.
Right? Because that's why we deal with the crime triangle. The crime triangle, basically, we speak about desire. There is persons out in our society who wants to commit crime.
Yeah.
That's why some of them, they are reoffenders. They have persons in our society who have been more in the prison than walking the streets in Grenada.
Yeah, I know individuals that almost 50%
so they have,
of their life.
So they have, you saying 50. I know persons with 60 up percent of their life been spent at her back then and now his Majesty prison. Right? So I'm just saying that to say that there is
repeating the same offense every time they've been released.
Repeating the same offense.
Yes.
Repeating the same offense. So they have this desire to commit crime. And we can do no. It's almost like we can't help them, because I know that there is programs in the prison that helps to rehabilitate persons.
Yes.
Right? And some persons, I mean, to me it might be not enough of a huge number, but some persons are rehabilitated. However, there are those who would recommit. Right? So I'm saying all that to say that there is a person who wants to commit crime, and they have a desire. Any chance they get, they will commit a crime. And those persons, majority of the time, they have the ability. So all they're looking for is an opportunity. Right? So that's where we speak about target hardening. What is target hardening? Target hardening basically is taking out the opportunity, making it harder for a person to commit a crime, a property crime against another individual.
Expand on the targeted hardening of you. What can individuals? Right. What does that actually mean? I understand it in general, but if you could expand on it.
So it means, as I said, making it harder for the crime to commit. So how do we make it harder for a crime to commit? Right. So we have our houses. We don't want to put up security lights. Right? If you realize you might live in a kind of secluded area, you don't want to have lights around your house at night. So if somebody comes around and somebody passing, they could call it, what are you doing in the man's place? You understand? They could call the police. Obviously, I see this person around that person's house. I see this person trying to climb up. because there's visibility, right? Again, leaving your keys below your mat. You'll want to avoid doing that. Do you understand? Implementing and installing of CC cameras. Those act as deterrent when person see camera.
What happens now when these things are no longer working as deterrent? I've seen lately where, businesses and for individuals, personal homes who have the CC cameras and adequate lighting and everything, but it doesn't seem to be deterred individuals from wanting to come into your property. What more can individuals do? I have seen where folks walking up to your camera and still trying to break to your house.
Right.
I've seen folks knowing their camera there for some reason they could care less.
Right.
You understand?
And that is true. What we do is that the camera aids in solving that matter.
Yeah.
And these persons, and I could say that we have a very high rate of arrests and person being charged and convicted for offense especially where there is cameras, CCTV footage.
Okay.
It's in the high 90s that we will get you.
All right.
And we make sure that we bring these persons. We make sure that we bring these persons to court in a very timely manner.
Yeah.
Right. And as I said, you cannot go into a person's mind and change their mindset whether or not they want to commit a crime.
Yeah.
And their ability is just try to harden it. And that's why I say we cannot prevent it all in all, but we could harden it. You understand? You're going to the beach. A lot of people are going to be going to the beach for the summer. For the summer. Some of the stuff that you don't need at the beach, don't carry it. Why would you carry a ring, a chain at the beach when you know you'll have to take it out, leave it on the sand, a lot of the time unattended, your cell phone, and then turning your back? Sometimes, it's one thing to go with it, and then your action beyond it.
Yes.
Because you might go in the water, everybody in the water, turn your back, not paying attention to your stuff on the sand, and then somebody goes with it. So all these things and them forms part of the target hardening process.
All right.
You have to be cognizant that these things are possible. We're speaking about vehicles.
Yeah.
And we're here every season and ever so often speaking about crime prevention, speaking about property crime. And I'm presently investigating matters where persons leaving computer in the vehicle still, vehicle unlock. And those items are stolen.
Knowing of the risk involved, the area where you're at, and so forth.
Yeah.
And you still continue to do it.
Yeah. So, and that's why we're here time and time again encouraging, disseminating information so that person could get it. That is not every person or society might have the moral compass as we do to say that a person's property belongs to them and I ain't touching it. And we have to be mindful of that.
All right. There's always the impact that property crime will have on victims. What may have gotten stolen. Well, communities and so forth. Let's talk about the impact, especially on the victims and communities in general, where property crime seems to be rampant for some reason. The impact they will have on the victims.
Well, normally is a negative impact.
Yeah.
Because you just imagine, you just build your house, you buy a TV, you buy this, you buy that, you have it in your house, and then somebody breaks in. Sometimes to break in, they damage your door, they damage your window, so some sort of damage.
A cost is
installed. And then they steal stuff. And some stuff in our life, the cost doesn't mean anything to us, but the sentimental value that comes with it, it causes a deeper loss than cash itself.
Okay.
So it's really negative, right? And then for the community in general, the fear of crime, right? It's really a negative thing.
The uneasiness
the uneasiness that you have to remember to lock up, remember to do this, remember to do that, better to go out, but you understand. And we don't want that to happen. And that's why we're here and we're letting the public know that in spite of all this, the police have plans in place that we have already rolled out, and we're going to get more aggressive as we get closer to the carnival season. So rest assured, the RGPF, we're not sitting on our alliance and waiting for things to happen. We're going to be in the forefront, fighting crime, preventing crime, bringing persons to court once a crime is being perpetrated. And we're doing what we have to do to keep our communities and our country safe.
All right. The importance of, community involvement in reference to crimes of nature that we've been expanding a whole lot, especially property crimes and stuff. The importance of the community to get involved in terms of creating that awareness with each other. Neighbors talking to each other, in terms of looking out for each other's property and so forth, whether it's your house, your car, whatever that is deemed to be a property of an individual. The importance of neighbors and the community being involved. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't just say the community, I would say the country.
Yeah.
Because always say crime is like tourism. They say tourism is everybody's business. Crime is everybody's business. Because you never know when it will impact you personally. So anything that we could do to prevent or to bring to some kind of conclusion any crime, we always encourage persons in our community. Look out for one another. Just like we said, takes a community to raise a child. It takes the entire community to keep the community safe.
So true.
Do you understand? And this notion that we had and this stigma of being informant, I don't understand.
You don't go with that notion at all.
This notion that you're being an informant. When you see something is being done and it's wrong, even though it's not happening to you, but something you got to put yourself in that person's shoe.
But there's also the fear
tomorrow could be
the fear factor that involves in it also. Folks, in terms of giving all information, folks may be fear for their own lives.
And that's where our community engagement comes in. That you could get to know your officers personally, that you have confidence, that you can call Corporal Antoine, you could call Inspector Roberts, you could call Sergeant Julian and speak to them, and you know that the level of confidentiality, you don't have to worry about.
Kind of develop that one-on-one
and that's where
with your community
and that's where the community policing, the community engagement, that forms part of what we're trying to achieve.
Certainly it makes life easier for the police and for the community also.
Exactly.
Makes life easier, a whole lot easier. We drew for a break. Let's take it, folks. We're coming right back. Stay with us. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. More information when we return. Stay with us. Don't touch it down.
My name is Boogie B, and this is my partner here, John. Well, you know what's going on? GBN have a big thing coming up on the Canada. I want to beat Little John, and I'm going to beat Little John.
You can't beat no anything that is dollar roti.
Yeah. You bring me down already.
Yo, let me sing the truth.
No song. Bring it song on the Carnage. I have a meeting.
Alright, but you don't know, GBN Spice of the Carnage live. Don't forget this year, 2025, Boogie B, Little John. Yo, mass.
I'm going to be there. He's going to be there. You don't be scared.
The way them y'all getting on ya, they making me hunger. I don't know how long I gotta wait again. They shaking the bumper, they raising me temper. I'm right in the center, y'all are feeling a pain.
Calling the CARICOM community, assembling Global Africa, the 4th edition of the Afri-Caribbean Trade Investment Forum. Active 2025 is coming to St. George, Grenada, this 28th to 29th July. Join government government and business leaders, investors, and trade and finance institutions to explore the theme, resilience and transformation, enhancing Africa-Caribbean economic cooperation in an era of global uncertainty. Be there as we stand together to strengthen our commercial ties, to promote shared trade and investment opportunities, and unlock prosperity for Africa, the Caribbean, and the wider diaspora. The 4th Afri-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum. Reserve your place now at active2025.com.
I'm ready to defend my crown. I, Guana, will be performing live, defending Carnage Soca Monarch. All you think a little curry meet me on the stage. July 25th, 31st, and August 8th. Meet me on the stage.
We wild, we in style. When you see me chilling on that branch by myself, no company, no friends. Oh my gosh, I stumble. When I meet till I tumble, woman come in a bungle, wanna come from a jungle. Oh my gosh, I stumble. When I meet.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. Of course, we're here with, of course, a couple Antoine this morning, and of course, representing the CID. And we're talking property crimes this morning here. There's a couple of times. Welcome back once again. I want us to get into this discussion, though, the importance of reporting, that public reporting, and of course, and creating that awareness of incidents that happen. Sometimes we have some folks as victims, maybe for various reasons, decided I ain't telling the police what happened. Or things are not reporting it in a timely manner. You know, something happened tonight, and I want to go 3-4 days after and talk about it. Sometimes they say that 48 hours between the incident is always, maybe I'm watching too much movie, but that 48 hours between after a crime is when it's always important. Yeah. That's when it's hot the most. You understand? Right. You know, talk to me in relation to that. In terms of, you know, the importance of timely incident reporting, the importance of, you know, the importance of the reporting in general.
Right.
Incidents when they do occur.
Right. Reporting in general, incidents when they do occur. It helps deter. Because if persons know that you're a person that if you come around a place, they go call the police. Even though you just see you walking close to your fence, you go call the police. They tend to think twice. Right? Also, reporting matters in a timely manner helps bring closure in a timely manner as well, because the police cannot deal with what they do not know.
So true.
So we have to bring it to our attention, right? Also, from a CID standpoint, really, the gathering of evidence, especially physical evidence, right, and maintaining integrity of that evidence is important.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody breaks into your house, you don't want to wait a week or 2 weeks after you touch up everything, you move everything, so that the police, we can't get a fingerprint, we can't get a shoe print. Everything is compromised. So then we do not have physical evidence to help solve the matter in a timely manner or solve it at all. So it's very important because it really acts as a deterrent, and it helps police to bring closure in a timely manner as well, especially as a deterrent. If person know that you are a person, you're going to call the police, or a person is going to call the police. once this, even though it is not something that is even serious, but you're going to bring it to the attention of the authorities, they tend to draw back a bit.
Something happened in the community, and they see that particular victim per se, the police is there, maybe coming back more than one occasion.
Right.
It kind of give a sense of comfort to the other members of the community.
Yes, it does.
Give us the police came after X reported that something got stolen. As simple as it may be, it makes the other community members feel, well, maybe I should report when things happen too, because I saw the police coming. You understand?
And also it let the perpetrators know that the police is going to come and you're going to get caught and you're going to face your consequences. Because sometimes when other criminals hear that this one did that and the police were able to cut up to him, tend to think twice.
So the entire concept of reporting aids as a deterrent also.
Yes,
it aids as a deterrent.
It aids as a deterrent as well.
Yeah. Because no individuals see because Mr. X or Mr. Y reported that his house was stolen into, maybe something simple may have been stolen, but he did report it. It makes now the individuals not think, or the culprits who wants to do that think, well, maybe I shouldn't go by Mr. R because Mr. X called the police scheme, and somehow maybe my fingerprint is at Mr. X's house. I go Mr. R and they find it again. The pattern develop of who the culprit could actually be.
Right.
So that's good. That's good to know.
And that's what reporting in a timely manner and reporting at all really means.
No, I'm sure there's probably an individual who is listening to this conversation this morning who's a culprit of going around and invading people's homes and committing these property crimes and so forth. Let's talk in the legal consequences, penalties for individuals who go around doing these things. Let's talk about the consequences per se for and that legal consequence and penalties that could come about for you if you get in terms of that property crime or crimes you want to commit against individuals.
Well, property crimes fall under two categories. It could be indictable as well as summary. Right? What is indictable? What is summary? An indictable matter is a matter that goes to trial at the High Court, where there is a jury, where there is jurors and a judge, right? And how do we know that it is indictable or summary? So we say once the property that is damaged, stolen, exceed 20,000 and above, we deem it as an indictable, which is more on the most serious side. Summary is under $20,000, right? So for each of these crimes, if committed and the person is found guilty, they can face penalties of you would have to you could be fined, right?
Yes.
As well as you could be in prison, as well as you could be fined and imprisonment, because there is cases where I have brought persons to court and we see, for example, they would have broke up into somebody's shop and stolen groceries and items.
Yes.
Right? After they would have spent time in prison, when they comes out, they have to pay the fine.
Pay the fine also.
Right?
All right. So and that could lead to more in prison time if they don't pay the fine.
Exactly. So it's really fine and confined.
Depending on the nature.
Depending on the nature. The most serious offenses, majority of the time there is a confinement. Confinement to it.
So anytime you go out and you steal somebody's property, tell yourself you may be confined.
You may be confined.
And then after I guess you have to be processed and so forth.
Right.
And depending on the judge's decision, if you're going to be fined or confined, depending on the nature of what you have stolen and so forth.
Exactly, depending on the nature. And then depending on your record.
Yeah.
Your record have a lot to do with
if you're someone who has been repeating those offenses all the time.
Certainly you will be confined. Certainly you will be confined. Right? And majority of the time, even during the time of leading up to the trial, you will be placed on remand. Because if it is that you're causing havoc in our communities, where you have cases where we investigate matters, you see a string of breaking in 10 days, you might have four or five breaking in one community, and then when you catch up to the person, you realize it's that one person. Then
you spoke about repeat offenders. How does the authorities deal with that in the individuals in that particular capacity of someone who's constantly known to breaking individuals' homes, whether it's not the cars and stealing and so forth? He got a 3-4 months, came out for was probably did this time come out, did commit the same crime again.
Yeah,
you understand, and he has to go back through the process again. How does they deal with that in particular?
Well, as I said, if you are a repeat offender, 9.5 times out of 10, you're going to be confined. Mm-hmm. To me, my personal opinion is that maybe the confinement is not long enough at times. Especially when you see a man.
Could be the comfort of the confinement, right?
You pull up a man record of conviction, and you see he would have had 30 housebreaking in the past, and then he might get a year in prison. And I find it's a little bit lenient. Yeah.
But I sometimes think it's not the leniency of the confinement. I think it's the severity of the confinement. You should not want him to go back there.
Well,
sometimes I think maybe it's too nice a place.
We fall under the Geneva Convention, and we know about our human rights, and
sometimes we hear of individuals who've been to the prison 10 times,
right,
for the same offense. You understand? It's like they're wanting to go back, and comes out, spend a couple of weeks out, and commit the same crime and go back again. But something had to be really nice there for them wanting to go back. But still, there are prisons where you the first offense, you don't want to go back again.
In fairness, I hold the view that notwithstanding whatever crime a person might commit, I firmly believe in treating people as people.
I agree with you also. But you see, when the particular crime you commit is causing that impact on the
community,
on the community, on a particular individual. You spoke of sometimes the sentimental value of what you may have stolen from someone.
Right.
Now you may have dispersed it to somebody else. They were not able to recover that again. Yeah. So now that person is left with that brokenness part of them has been removed for some reason or the other. You understand? So that's why I say sometimes maybe the prison system, maybe in Grenada, is a little bit too lenient.
When I say lenient, I mean in terms of the duration of some of the conviction. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes you bring a man in court and there is 3-4 housebreaking, and then they say 6 months run concurrently.
Maybe if he spends a year for each one, he'd probably think twice of
exactly. So I more believe the duration more than the condition or the treatment.
Is it to do with the laws of that governs these particular crimes?
Basically the laws.
Factor that you
basically the laws, and then there is a sentencing guideline that guides the magistrate when giving a sentence to a convicted person.
Yeah.
And I think the sentencing guideline, they try to make it throughout the
so there's a standardized sentencing for crimes of that nature.
Yes.
Interesting to note. In this segment, we're going to entertain a couple calls that our listeners and viewers who may want to chime in on our conversation this morning. I beg of you to be brief, please, when you do call in, so that we could accommodate as many callers as possible. Let's take our first caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome.
Yeah, morning, GT. Morning to your esteemed guests and to the listening public and the looking audience. Now, I was tempted to call when, based on the conversation about what we do with people who continually offend. I think, first of all, we have to see that as a failure of the society. It's an indictment on us. Because there were society where people, if they commit an infraction, they would have got some therapy from the whole society. As in some African society, when somebody does something that is not conducive to the rest of the society, they will bring him in front of everyone, and they would tell him all the things that are good about him. We don't do that. We punish people in ways that doesn't help. So I would say we need to examine ourselves, first of all, how we are doing society. If we are encouraging selfishness, individualism, then solving some of the problems that would inevitably come up in the process of living. There will never be a society that everybody does the right thing all the time. But we have to have mechanisms so that when those things happen, we can help people to restore a person back to some sort of normality. So I think that this is something we need to really investigate more. How can we make the society more humane, more respectful of the humanity of all of us, no matter what we do? Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. I guess you understand where the caller is coming from.
Yes, and that's one of the points I was making, that I always see a person as a human being, and the treatment, but the person must understand that there is consequences
for the action.
Because you might say this about the perpetrator, but then what are you going to tell the victim who has been robbed of the property, or the property has been damaged? You also have to think about the victim, and you have to try to balance, and it's really a balancing act.
Understandably so. Let's get another call. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Telesford.
Good morning to you, sir.
Greetings to your guest. Sometime you sit back and you listen to officials representing the state on public radio, and you wonder. Provokes certain questions sometimes. I ask the following question of the officer, whose subject matter this morning precisely to the people that have related to crimes like robbery and otherwise. Tell me, my dear brother, let me pardon the people. Of these three verbs, rob, burgle, and steal, are they the same? If there are any differences, I'd like you to explain the differences. And finally, what connection or relationship does the word larceny have to the three above mentioned verbs? There's something I'd like to just mention too. I would urge you, sir, apart from answering my question, this is just a little homework, to pay attention to the verbal structure would have plus the past participle. It never tells of an action which occurred in the past. It speaks of what might or could have happened upon a conditionality. I urge you to do a research on it, so that the next time we do not make that mistake. Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford, for what it's worth.
Thank you, sir. Have a good morning. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Mr. Rolo. Thank you for your question. Burglary, robbery, and stealing. Stealing is basically somebody steals something from you. You don't have to be present. You could leave your items at home and somebody steals it, right? But burglary is basically the timing in which a person enters your house to commit same stealing, right? Once it's between a certain time in the night, it's considered burglary. And then robbery is really stealing from the person, and sometimes it could be stealing robbery with violence if the person would have used some kind of weapon or commit some violent act while taking your item from you in person.
Okay.
Basically. And when we speak about larceny, all the stealing offense fall under larceny.
Okay, understandably so. We do have another caller via WhatsApp. Caller via WhatsApp, good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. GT, and good morning to you, officer.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Okay. I did have the thinking that probably a severe punishment should be given to someone who steals, until I had a conversation with a psychologist he worked in Grenada, and he actually enlightened me that sometimes some people have what you call an imbalance in the brain, and they're suffering from a disease called kleptomaniac, in which they commit a crime or they commit the action without even wanting to have the need for what they commit the action for. And he said that in order to mitigate that, the person would need to be given medication And when they are given that medication, they do not commit those crimes thereafter. Now, what I would like to find out is whether or not when a person is found guilty of crimes like these, if they are assessed by a psychologist, and if so, if they do need medication, if medication is given to them.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much for your contribution this morning. Interesting contribution there from the caller. This one?
Right. I do not know of an instance where that has been done, unless it have times that person that we consider quote unquote mad people are in our policing, what we call it, suspected lunatic.
Yeah.
We do evaluation on them to see whether or not when they committed the crime, if they were in sound mind.
Okay.
And if they were, then they would be charged for the offense. And if not, then they would be treated. Right? But other than that, I do not know of that happening.
In Grenada?
In Grenada, yeah.
Okay, we do have another caller. Caller, your life. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning to you and to the officer and to all your followers. Kleptomania may be a very, very rare thing in our society, but I think a lot of it has to do with culture. The officer spoke of people having a moral compass, in terms of, what is right and what is wrong. But we have a culture in our country, and it has changed over the years, of lack of respect for private property. No, we may get the experts to go and examine them if we want to, but the majority of the cases, they can be looked at in terms of our culture. And let me tell you why I say that. It's very serious. I live close to the road. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are. We are hearing you. Go right ahead, please.
And occasionally, the police officers, they come and they do traffic checks outside of my house. So, okay. A couple weeks ago, about a month or so ago, there were two officers doing a check. Some mango trees, they be almost year-round. You get 2 mangoes now and another 2. There was one ripe mango on my tree. That officer in uniform entered my gate, picked the mango on my tree. There was a guest on in the yard, and he said to him, "I taking the mango, man." And then my wife was upset, and she saw she was frozen. She didn't know what to do about it. And then I think when he went back, his superior said to me, "How could you go and take the people's mango?" Now, how would such an officer respond if I went to him and said, "Somebody trespassed my place and took my fruits"? He would not be very sympathetic. He would not be very concerned. He is almost immune to feeling that this thing is wrong, because we have that culture. It's a minor thing. I knew I could have called out to him and said something, but it just shows that culture we have. And even people, law enforcement people, they seem to operate on that culture. That what belongs to somebody can easily become yours. And because of that case, this young guy, the 16-year-old who was savagely attacked, his phone stolen, his cash stolen by adults, males, that culture of, what is yours can be mine. And as you mentioned earlier on, it creates that sort of psychological problem where you have a fear, but it also creates that psychological situation of you being not just invaded, but the word I'm trying to get now is somebody has invaded your space and you feel violated. To think that someone can just look at what is yours and feel that they can have it. So I think we have to look even within those who do law enforcement, and we have to address that whole culture that we are engendering in Grenada of lack of respect for private property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Thank you very much for your contribution also. I guess you understand where the caller is coming from.
Yes, I understand fully where the caller is coming from, and I hold somewhat to those views. I think that a lot of the ills in our society start in the home, and the morals. Back then, we grew up with our grandparents, and we grew up in extended homes where we are with aunties and uncles, and everybody would scold us and speak to us and stuff like that. I believe that there are serious breakdowns in the family presently, and that is part of what is causing some of the issues and ills in our society. So I think we need to get back to bringing up our children in the proper way, because an officer, a teacher, a lawyer, they come from a home.
He spoke of the culture, which is important, and I understand when he mentioned it from the policeman point of view. Most of us would do it. You stand on the road, you see a mango, you feel you could just take it because you think, hey, it's okay, it's just a mango.
Right.
But, and the culture of development where we probably think it's okay for me to pick a mango from somebody's tree, without asking their permission or something of the sort. You understand? And so I understand why he spoke around the culture part of it. You understand?
But I understand he tried to bring it to the culture part of it. Yeah. But I grew up in a home where my mother taught me that what does not belongs to me,
you shouldn't take.
If I have to get it, I should find the person who it belongs to and ask them for it. In the absence of that, it does not belong to you, you don't touch it.
And I agree with you that also. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning, you're welcome.
Good morning, Jay, and good morning to you.
Good morning to you, sir.
In light of the last caller, which is right, they are introducing or decriminalizing marijuana in a few months. So my question to the officer is that is push including that? Because marijuana, push is not really marijuana.
Caller, we're talking about property crimes and so forth this morning, eh? That's basically our conversation level this morning. So I'm not sure what the question you're asking, how is it going to mix into the conversation this morning? Maybe you're asking it in a different direction.
He can increase crime. When a man smoke, he want to smoke some more, so he need money. Yeah? Hello?
Yeah, we're listening. We're listening.
So the question is that, is push included in that process? Are we decriminalizing marijuana for the guys to use? Is push included?
All right. Let's have the officer respond if you...
Well, it's simple. There is different types of marijuana. Yeah. They are all marijuana, It's just like you have different mangoes. You have Julie mango, you have Ceylon, you have Slinger, you have Shebo. It's different type, but it still falls under mango.
I think he's asking now if to put whatever he mentioned, the kush or whatever. I'm not. But if that's made, it becomes legal.
The thing about it is that the legislation has not been presented to us, and we do not know for sure.
Yeah.
So it will be. Very, very irresponsible of me to
I think he was more asking the question if these things, if it become legal and folks have the option of using it,
right?
And in terms
so
of
I guess when the legislation is being presented and passed, then there will be clearly the guidelines and so on and so forth will be there, and we as citizens, I believe that we would know what would be the do's and don'ts, and what would be acceptable or not acceptable when that time comes.
Understandably so. We do have another caller, which will be our final caller for the morning. Caller, you're live. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Telesford, for half a minute, pardon. Your penultimate caller placed a thesis forward there, which is rather interesting. The use of the word culture in our behavior towards other people's property. So I'll use that said thing to throw a warning out to the population, brothers and sisters of Grenada. If in effect, for whatever cause or so, this thesis is correct, I urge you to be careful. We're on the wrong footing. For if theft, robbery, pilfering, stealing, burglary is part of the Grenadian quote-unquote culture, from my understanding of the meaning of the word culture, we're in a bad place. Consider it seriously. consider it seriously. Thank you very much, Mr. Telesford, for what it's worth.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day yourself. And anything in closing before we take a wrap?
Well, just in closing, I want to remind our general public and persons in our society that we fastly approaching the carnival season. From tonight, we have in the prelims of the Groovy Monarch.
Yes.
We have already seen the prelims of the Power Soca, and I think that the 10th will be judging anytime from now.
Yeah.
Right. I want to encourage persons to be safe. Right. Some safety tips to businesses. Carnival time presents a time when you will have an uptake in business. An uptake in business will be an uptake in cash, an uptake in persons being in your business place. So you would want to increase your security presence. You'd want to come up with a cash plan, how you transport or how you convey your cash during that period. Homeowners, we want to remind you that putting your keys below your mat, like old time days, that don't work again. Persons who have the means to install CC cameras, by all means do so. Try to remember to install security lights. Person going out to the various events, especially women, you'd want to go in groups. You try to avoid walking in areas where it's poorly lit. Person carrying cash, again, try not to expose your cash in public too much. Valuables, if you do not have a need for the items based on where you're going, you should secure it at your home. Person with the vehicles, remember to lock your vehicle. Remember, do not leave valuables in your vehicle in plain sight and at all. Right? And that is just some of the tips I want persons to remember when you're out there. I encourage persons, and especially our young persons, do not consume too much alcohol that would impair your judgment and cause you to end up on the other side of the law in terms of being in altercation, driving in a manner on the road that will put you and other road users in danger as well. And all in all, let's have a safe Carnival 2025. The police is out. We're doing our due in terms of ramping up our operation, our patrols, our community engagement, and we're in the driver's seat, I should say.
All right. Governor, I want to thank you once again for, of course, coming on today's program and sharing information. I certainly hope the information shared this morning that our listeners and viewers would take them to heart, especially when in terms of protecting their property and so forth. The tips you gave out a short while ago. Hope listeners and viewers put them into use and carefully consider what they're doing, especially when they're leaving their property unattended. And of course, makes life a bit easy for the police and for them in general. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hey folks, that's where we take a wrap for today's edition of To The Point. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. Until then, have a good one. That's where we say goodbye.